This next song is a story of my life. And if you love country music for a long time, this is your story too.
A radio network banned her song for being too suggestive. A record label refused to renew her contract because she wouldn't stop wearing pants on stage. A woman was told flatly that ladies simply did not sing about certain things, and every single one of them sang about it anyway.
Free, so you're gonna be talked about. Yeah.
Classic country music has a reputation for tradition, but its history is full of women who broke that tradition wide open, defying record labels, radio programmers, and entire genres built around keeping them quiet. Welcome back to the Country Trails. Number 12 starts with an 11-year-old girl pushed in front of a microphone because a radio sponsor simply wanted a girl singer and got something nobody expected. Number 12, Rose Maddox, The Maddox Brothers and Rose, 1937 to 1956.
Way out in Reno, Nevada.
Rose Maddox's family fled the Depression-era South as fruit pickers, riding boxcars into California, and when her brother Fred landed a 1937 radio slot with one condition, that the band include a girl singer, 11-year-old Rose was pushed toward the microphone almost as an afterthought.
The word that he said, your hands are...
Nobody expected what came out. Rose sang with a force and swagger nobody had heard from a woman in hillbilly music before, high-kicking, shimmying, and refusing to stand still while her brothers played, at a time when women in the genre were expected to sing sweetly and stay in place.
Near her window, a shadow he saw.
Billed as America's most colorful hillbilly band, the Maddox Brothers and Rose blended honky-tonk, gospel, and boogie-woogie into a raucous, flashy sound years before rockabilly had a name, and Rose went on to score 15 country hits between 1947 and 1964 across a solo career that followed. Decades later, historians would credit Rose Maddox as a direct forerunner of rockabilly itself, a genre she was shouting into existence before Elvis Presley ever picked up a guitar, and musicians who came after her, from Wanda Jackson to Buck Owens, pointed straight back to her as the woman who proved it could be done.
And we can get married too.
Number 11, Charlene Arthur, RCA Victor, 1953 to 1956. Charlene Arthur signed with RCA Victor in January 1953 under a manager named Colonel Tom Parker, the same man who would soon go on to manage Elvis Presley, and by every account, she immediately became the most difficult woman in Nashville to control. She was the first female country singer to perform on stage, wearing pants, leapt off amplifiers mid-song, sang lying flat on the floor, and demanded bluesy, sexually suggestive material at a time when her label wanted a prim, gingham-dressed image, clashing constantly and openly with her own producer, the legendary Chet Atkins.
Looking for that candle look.
When her contract expired in 1956, RCA simply chose not to renew it, and her recording career never recovered, though her influence quietly rippled outward anyway, reportedly inspiring a young Elvis Presley through his mother's fondness for her records, and directly inspiring a young singer named Wanda Jackson to follow her lead.
And they burn that candle.
Patsy Cline, another rebel who would later dare to wear pants on stage herself, met Charlene Arthur on the set of the Big D Jamboree and instantly recognized a kindred spirit, two women who refused to be smoothed into someone else's idea of a country star. Number 10, Jean Shepard, Capitol Records, 1953.
How many times have you heard?
Jean Shepard was only 17 when Hank Thompson recommended her to Capitol Records, and a year later her breakthrough single, A Dear John Letter, became the first record by a female country artist since the end of World War II to sell more than 1 million copies. She built her career on hard-edged, unapologetic honky-tonk singing at a time when smoother, softer voices were considered more acceptable for women, and she became one of the first women in the entire genre to front her own headline tours rather than perform as part of a husband and wife act or a male-fronted band. Tragedy struck in March 1963 when her husband, fellow Opry star Hawkshaw Hawkins, was killed in the same small plane crash that also took the lives of Patsy Cline and Cowboy Copas, leaving Shepard 8 months pregnant and devastated, seriously considering walking away from music entirely. She didn't. Shepard returned to the charts a year later and went on to become the Grand Ole Opry's longest-serving female member in its entire history, helping pave the road that Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, and Tammy Wynette would all walk down after her. Number 9. Wanda Jackson, Capitol Records, 1956 to 1958. Wanda Jackson toured the South in 1955 on the same bill as a then-unknown singer named Elvis Presley, and it was Presley himself who kept pushing her toward the wild new sound he was pioneering, insisting she had exactly the voice and feel for it. She took the leap, becoming the first woman to record genuine rock and roll, dressing in low-cut, spaghetti-strap gowns modeled after Marilyn Monroe, an image so bold for a country singer that some southern radio stations initially refused to play her records at all. Her signature song, Let's Have a Party, sat almost entirely ignored for 2 full years after its release, until an Iowa disc jockey dusted it off in 1960 and the phone lines lit up overnight, finally turning her into the artist history now remembers as the Queen of Rockabilly. Jackson kept performing well into her 80s, and decades after she first risked her entire career on an unproven new sound, artists from Elvis Costello to the Cramps openly credited her as the woman who made it acceptable for a female voice to sound dangerous. Number 8. Lynn Anderson, Columbia Records, 1970.
I beg your pardon.
Lynn Anderson had already been recording steadily through the late 1960s when her husband and producer, Glenn Sutton, brought her a pop song called Rose Garden that had already been recorded, without much success, by several male artists before her.
Along with the sunshine.
Anderson herself wasn't especially convinced by the song at first, but her version reworked it into something warmer and more defiant, a woman promising her partner honesty instead of empty fairy tales, and it became one of the fastest-rising country crossover hits of the era. Rose Garden reached number 1 on the country charts and climbed all the way into the pop top 5, making Anderson, for a time, the best-selling female country artist in the genre's history, and earning her the Country Music Association's Female Vocalist of the Year award. The song's massive pop crossover success also opened a very real debate within Nashville about whether country music was becoming too commercial too fast, a controversy Anderson found herself at the center of simply for having a hit too big for the genre's own comfort. Number 7. Barbara Mandrell, ABC and MCA Records, 1970s and 1980s.
I remember wearing straight leg Levi's, flannel shirts.
Barbara Mandrell began performing professionally at the age of 11, mastering steel guitar, saxophone, banjo, and multiple other instruments well before most of her peers had settled on a single one. And by her 20s, she was already one of Nashville's most technically accomplished performers. She refused to be boxed into any single lane, blending R&B and pop influences into her country sound at a time when genre crossing was viewed with real suspicion in Nashville, and by 1980, she was headlining Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell Sisters on NBC, alongside her siblings Louise and Earlene, a weekly primetime show that drew nearly 40 million viewers at its peak. Her 1981 hit, I Was Country When Country Wasn't Cool, doubled as both a chart topper and a pointed statement, calling out the industry's sudden embrace of country chic while acknowledging her own long, unglamorous road through honky-tonks to get there.
Pulling up and turning down your...
Mandrell became the only artist in history to be named the Country Music Association's Entertainer of the Year twice, and she did it while simultaneously hosting a national TV show, breaking barriers in two entirely different industries at the exact same time.
At the movies, when the West was really...
Number 6. Kitty Wells, Decca Records, 1952. Kitty Wells was 33 years old, a housewife and mother of 3, and seriously considering leaving music behind entirely when producer J.D. Miller brought her a song answering Hank Thompson's hit, The Wild Side of Life, which had blamed women entirely for broken marriages. Wells recorded it for a modest session fee, insisting the men who acted single while married deserved some of that same blame, and the reaction was immediate. NBC's radio network banned the song outright for being suggestive, the BBC banned it in Britain, and the Grand Ole Opry initially refused to let her perform it live on its own broadcast. None of that stopped the record. It wasn't God who made Honky Tonk. Angel spent 6 weeks at #1 on the country charts, making Kitty Wells the first woman in history to top the chart as a solo artist, in a genre where, as she later put it, women simply never had hit records at all. The song opened the door for every other name on this list, and Wells carried the title Queen of Country Music for the rest of her life, a fitting name for the woman who proved, definitively, that an entire industry could try to silence a song and still lose. Number 5. Jessi Colter, Capitol Records, 1975. Jessi Colter wrote, played piano on, and sang I'm Not Lisa entirely herself in 1975, a quiet, aching song about a woman confronting a man who keeps calling her by an old lover's name, and it shot to #1 on the country charts and into the pop top 5. By the following year, she'd become the only woman featured on Wanted the Outlaws, the landmark compilation alongside her husband Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, and Tom Paul Glazer that would become the first country album in history certified platinum by the RIAA. Colter never softened her sound to fit into the hard-drinking, rebellious image the outlaw movement was built around, delivering her own material with a restrained, spiritual intensity that stood apart from everyone else on that same record. And it worked precisely because she refused to imitate the men around her. While the outlaw movement is remembered today mostly through its male stars, Jessi Colter's name sits permanently on the album that started it all, proof that the genre's most rebellious era still needed a woman's voice to be complete. We're just past the halfway point, and the next 4 stories somehow raise the stakes even higher, including a woman who fought for equal pay before it had a name, and a song about birth control that 60 radio stations refused to play. If any of these stories are new to you, drop a comment and tell me. And if you want more real, deeply researched country music history like this every single week, go ahead and subscribe to the Country Trails right now. Number 4. Patsy Cline, Decca Records, 1957 to 1963.
I've got your picture.
Patsy Cline fought harder than almost anyone in Nashville simply to be paid and credited the same as the men around her, reportedly demanding equal billing and equal pay at shows where promoters initially wanted to list her below male performers with a fraction of her draw. She was also, like her friend Charlene Arthur before her, unafraid to defy the genre's expectations of how a woman should dress and carry herself on stage, wearing tailored slacks at a time when cowgirl skirts and gingham dresses were still the unspoken uniform for women in country music.
I've got the records.
Cline crossed genre lines almost effortlessly, her voice built for pop-orchestrated ballads as easily as pure honky-tonk, and she became one of the first women in the genre's history to achieve major crossover pop success while still being fully embraced as a country artist.
And it's signed with love.
On March 5, 1963, Cline died in a plane crash, alongside Hawkshaw Hawkins and Cowboy Copas, cutting short a career still very much on the rise. But the standard she set for how a woman could demand respect in Nashville outlived her by decades.
The only thing different.
Number 3. Loretta Lynn, MCA Records, 1975.
Well, if you've been a married woman and things
Loretta Lynn had already spent years writing candidly about divorce, drinking, and infidelity from a woman's point of view when she released The Pill in 1975, a song openly celebrating the birth control pill as liberation for women trapped in constant childbearing.
but if you go too far, you're gonna wear the scar.
More than 60 radio stations across the country refused to play it outright, and some affiliates banned it entirely, deeming the subject matter simply inappropriate for a female country singer to sing about at all, regardless of how many women in her audience related to every word.
The judge has a picture if a cheap camera makes a mistake.
The controversy didn't sink the song. The Pill still climbed into the country top 10, and Lynn later said she received sacks of mail from women, thanking her for saying out loud something they'd never heard put into a song before, particularly women in small towns, much like the one she'd grown up in. Lynn had already broken ground years earlier with Coal Miner's Daughter, but The Pill proved she wasn't interested in softening her material as her fame grew, choosing instead to write more honestly the more successful she became, exactly backwards from what Nashville expected of its stars.
When your best friend, the husband, says to you, if she's
Number 2. Emmylou Harris, Reprise and Warner Brothers Records, 1970s.
I don't want to hear a love song.
Emmylou Harris built her early career singing harmony alongside country rock pioneer Graham Parsons, and after his sudden death in 1973, she made the difficult choice to continue forward as a solo artist rather than retreat into more commercially safe material. She spent the rest of the decade deliberately blending traditional country, bluegrass, and rock influences at a time when Nashville radio strongly rewarded a much more polished, predictable sound, consistently prioritizing artistic integrity over guaranteed commercial success. Harris became one of the genre's most respected interpreters and band leaders, assembling the Hot Band, a group that helped launch or elevate the careers of musicians like Rodney Crowell and Ricky Skaggs, while also becoming one of the few women of her era, running her own backing band entirely on her own terms. Her uncompromising path through the 1970s laid essential groundwork for what would later be called alternative country, proving a woman could build a lasting, critically respected career in Nashville without ever chasing the sound the charts demanded. Number 1. Dolly Parton, RCA Victor and Owe Par Music, 1974.
I tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen for myself.
Dolly Parton spent 7 years as the featured female vocalist on The Porter Wagoner Show, and by 1974, despite the show having launched her into national fame, she made the difficult decision to leave, insisting on full creative control over her own career going forward. Wagoner fought the decision bitterly, and Parton has said she wrote "I Will Always Love You" specifically to explain, in song, why she needed to leave, delivering the finished tape to him personally rather than simply walking away without an explanation. Years later, when Elvis Presley wanted to record his own version of the song, his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, demanded half the publishing rights as a standard condition of an Elvis recording. And Parton, in tears, still said no, refusing to give up ownership of a song she'd written entirely on her own. That single decision to protect her own publishing rights meant that when Whitney Houston's cover became one of the best-selling singles in history nearly 2 decades later, Dolly Parton owned every bit of it, turning one woman's refusal to be controlled into one of the most valuable independent decisions in music history.
Out on the streets, the traffic starts jumping with folks like me.
That's the countdown. 12 women who refused to be told what a woman in country music could sing about, wear, or demand. And every single one of them changed the genre permanently because of it. If one of these stories surprised you, tell me below, and I'll see you on the next trail.